Aren't we organised? Look at that. And even Builder Cat's here, ready for her close-up. Right, just getting some stuff ready. So a couple of you maybe will join in, because I know full well that you're not going to expect us to be here at 1 o'clock. Everybody expects us to be late. Right, just one sec, I forgot something.
If you don't, you got something.
Right, okay. So even though we're on the even though we've got the thingy set up, we're just going to walk you over here a second. So what we're going to talk about today is treasure, isn't it? Treasure Thursday. Welcome to Treasure Thursday, Thursday Treasures, or whichever way around we do it. Today's the day we talk about reclamation and salvage and all that kind of stuff. But actually, you know, what I thought today is we're doing something practical in the garden, and treasure doesn't always have to be expensive, and treasure doesn't necessarily have to be something that you found at a salvage shop, salvage fair, or decorative fair, or in an antique shop, or whatever. It could be something like a piece of timber or a piece of metal, or something that's just lying around the house, or something that's been left over from your build. And the other day, I don't know if you joined us the other day on Lunchtime Live, but we were talking about some scaffolding planks. So those of you who watched Your Home Made Perfect this week will have seen the scaffolding plank wall that we did at Jeremy and Paula's, and we've also used some scaffolding planks here. And I know lots of you, there are countless hashtags, aren't there, which has got the just watching, hang on a minute, you've got to see this, one sec. There's Builder Cat disappearing through the cat hole into next door's garden. When we built the wall, we made sure we put a cat hole for the fox, and because we've got a fox that comes through, and also the cats. And I love it when she disappears through there. Anyway, slight diversion. Oh, where was I? Scaffolding planks. Scaffolding boards, yes. So there are hashtags, aren't there, all over the internet for hashtag scaff boards, hashtag scaff shelves, blah blah blah. People do use them outside, and we touched on this yesterday. People do use them outside, but they are cheap white wood. There is a reason that scaffolders use them for scaffolding planks, and it's because they're cheap as chips, which means they're not hardwood, they have no oils in them, they do not last. So if you're going to use them outside, and we have wet weather, not during lockdown, but normally we have wet weather, and they don't last, you know, unless you protect them. So I'm just going to show you something. We're going to have a bit of an experiment here at Moregeous Mansions today. So we have a little turn around, and I shall tell you what we're going to do. So Mr. Moregeous,
Yep.
Mr. Moregeous and I had a bit of an argument yesterday morning, didn't we, Mr. M? But we're fine today, because that's what happens in lockdown. It's stressful, isn't it?
It is stressful. Yeah, I didn't argue, I was told. So
You did argue. You were bloody arguing all day. You lying get. Anyway.
Yeah, anyway. So,
Scaffolding planks. This is what they look like when they've been battered and out and about and out in the garden. These have been in now for 2 years, probably, in our log store. And they've got wet. Even though they're under cover, under the table, they do get wet. And I've been hiding some plants under there during the winter. So they only had a really cheap internal matte varnish on them. So Mr. M's just sanded them back a little bit. And he did put some yacht varnish, okay, which is, I'll show you, yacht varnish is over there. Hang on. All right, okay, cool. We've made some seats as well, and we've put some yacht varnish on the seats, okay. But here is my problem with yacht varnish. I've used a Ronseal one, there we go. So yacht varnish, which obviously, because that's what it says on the tin. If you do happen to own a yacht, I'm assuming that not many of us own a yacht. But if you did own a yacht, you would use this on your yacht to protect the deck. So, hence why we use it outside, because it's water resistant, water protective, water resilient, blah blah blah. However, my issue with yacht varnish is it does make things go a little bit yellowy. And can you see, one of the things that we don't like, I think most of us, I don't know, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down now, most people don't like that kind of orangey looked pine. It can go a little bit orangey, and when we use the water resistant, when we use the matte lacquer from inside, it didn't go that orangey colour. I don't use, and when we do internal pine floors for people, we don't use a solvent based varnish or sealant on pine because it does go a bit orangey. And I haven't really got orangey stuff in the house. I've got a lot of reclaimed brick and I just didn't want that orange tone. So although he did this last week and it is protected, I'm just not that keen on it. I've got a vomiting face here, Martin. And I do, Martin, oh, so you got called your Sunday name then.
He's put a vomiting face
Zoe.
on
Yeah, HB2 Design says not keen on orangey pine either. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a bit of an experiment. Because my thinking is, I've painted the top section in the solid railings copy. Actually, that's the railings copy. It's still got to have the top coat of the posh Farnborough railings. But I'm actually going to do a wash on the bottom sections. I don't want to paint it in the block grey so it looks like that. I mean, it does need a clean and a top coat, but I don't want it in the solid grey. I still want the timber to come through. So what I'm going to do is a bit of an experiment. So here we go. Let's just get cracking. Should we give you this?
Give me the phone.
Say hello to Key Camps.
Hello, Kikams.
Hi, Key Camps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of the, and I'm going to test it on here. And let's just see what this looks like. I suppose, it's going to be the same as if you buy, you can get interior washes and you get wood washes, you get them in blue or greens or all sorts of colours, and I'm sure you can get one in grey, and we've actually used a black stain on the flooring inside, but we're on lockdown and I haven't got any grey stain for timber, and I don't particularly want to spend any money on it either, so I'm going to have a bit of an experiment. I'm going to just use a little bit of the undercoat of the railings copy, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of water. Put a bit more in. I'm running very low with that as well. I need to order some. Right, I've got my top coat fire and ball on order. Actually, there we go. I've got some water. So I'm going to do 50-50. Let's try a bit of 50-50-ish. I'll build a cat's board. See, build a cat's board of painting.
Just the minute you put water in.
Actually, do you know, I even think, well, let's test it. So that's 50-50. Maybe it was a little bit, let's put a little bit more. And so the idea is that when I put the wash on the timbers and on the bottom of the log store, let that dry, and then I'll use the yacht varnish on the top. So I will lose the timber effect, the colour of the timber, but I think that'll work really, really well. And also it'll mean that even though I've got this sort of bit more yellowy on that side, it's not over-facing, there's not too much of it. I think if it's yellowy under there, there's just too much. Right, let's have a go at this, shall we? So this is approximately 50-50. Too much. See, too thick. Too grey. Too grey. So instantly, what you should do, and you should do this as well, I mean, that's not too bad if it's wiped back, but that's quite thick, isn't it? So it's obviously, it's a good quality paint. So I'm just going to put more water in. And you should do this as well if you've got an internal floor. So if you have, we did this on a cottage actually once that we did, Rose Cottage. Do you remember this, Ren? That's probably 25% paint, 75% water now. Let me just wipe my brush. I mixed it with the brush by accident because I was chatting. Do you remember when we did Rose Cottage and our homeowner didn't have a huge amount of money, and so what she wanted was a kind of Georgian effect dark oak floor throughout the cottage, but we couldn't afford an oak floor, so we bought pine, and I mixed up some different wood dyes, but I tested it on everything. So if you're going to dye anything in your house, if you're going to like stain or varnish or wood dye the floor, you always need to test it. Always test it on a piece of timber which is the same as the timber on your floor. Don't just put it straight on the floor, because if it's wrong, you will regret it. So that's, say, 25% paint, 25% paint. See, that's still, isn't it? Oh my goodness.
But when you wipe that.
I know, but I don't particularly want to have to wipe it all, do I? I could, but wouldn't it be easier just to add more paint? Just to add more water?
Okay.
I don't want the faff of having to keep wiping it all the wood, do I? So we're going right down, aren't we? I'd say that was probably, that's right, 20%? So it really is a wash because it's much more water than paint. So I'd say 10% paint. Actually, do you know what I'm going to do? Do you want to just keep everyone entertained?
Okay.
I'm just going to go and wash the brush because I think there's quite a lot of paint on the brush. So it's
Yeah. Quickly, right. Bit of history. So we had all these scaffolding boards left over when the scaffolders took their stuff when we were building the extension, and we had this sort of space down here which is just at the edge of the lawn, and what do we do with it? So we decided, let's make a log store. I went online, looked at a few designs of log stores. We agreed on one, and this is it. And so a lot of this was all leftover wood, leftover 3x2, leftover scaffolding boards, and we just made that, which cost us very little. We had some leftover tiles that Sian wanted to put on the top for this is a gin table, and it's just been undercoated.
There's one for each bottle.
One for each bottle, one for each colour, one for each colour of gin.
I needed 7 tiles.
Anyway, we're back now.
Right, so I've just washed out the brush actually because I think that was a little bit
Part of it.
Yeah. Yes, you see, look at that.
Oh, so it's.
So we can still see the grain. We can still see the grain, and actually we can still see a little bit of the. I mean, it might be quite hard for you guys to see. Yeah, there you go. You still see the timber colour actually.
And that one.
Yeah.
And
that's 10%.
And that's without wiping it off.
Yeah, that's. I think this is the one. This is the one. So should we just get cracking?
Do it. Go for it. Go for it.
What do you think? Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Should we have a thumbs up?
Have
Do we
a
have a
thumbs
thumbs
up.
up or a thumbs down?
Yeah.
What do we reckon? Whoops, hang on a minute. How are you today? We're very, very well, Paul. Do you know of any builders merchants open now? Has Life? I do know. B&Q are back open actually now. Not keen on Orange Pine. B&Q are back open, and there's a couple open in.
There's a wood yard open as well.
In Manchester, yeah. Decorsi Designs coat it in epoxy resin. I could do, but
We're trying to save money.
I'm trying to save money. I could do it in epoxy resin, which should be brilliant for protecting timber. But I want to get the colour right first, so I don't want that yellowy.
Basically, it's
Hang on a
only
minute.
for putting logs on top of.
It is only for putting logs on top of. Hang on a sec. So what do we reckon? What do we reckon to that? Let's take it.
It'll dry lighter as well, won't it?
Whoops. Hang on 1 sec. Let's take it round. Let's turn it. Hang on. It will dry lighter. Actually, I think that will take away the oranginess, and then when we've got the when we put I don't really want it to look like this. I might have to get you to sand that one back again.
What's shock?
What shock? What do you think? What do you think, Builder Cat?
Painted.
Builder Cat says, do you like? Do we like that? She's all right. She quite likes sitting under there because it protects both of them. Sit under there, both Builder Cat and the Rockster. Okay, I think we're going to go for it. Thumbs up? Yeah, let's do it.
Thumbs up. Don't forget.
Let's do it.
Don't forget. Take into account.
What?
It took me all day to sand them back again yesterday, so you have to remember that.
When you filled it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I need a bigger brush?
We could do the edge. All my sanding.
I know, but I like it. And even if, you know what we could do? I could just distress it a little bit.
As much as I am.
As much as you're distressed right now. Because you sand it.
Oh, you see my shadow there, sorry.
I like.
Look at that. Oh, sorry.
Let's see.
And when you put a...
I think that's lovely then, because you can see the timber coming through, but it really will take that orangey hue back. And then we can yacht varnish them, which will super protect them. But they'll still look really cool. So you still got that rustic effect of the scaffolding boards.
Can you see
and
that?
you could do that actually. You could do it with a grey, but if your garden hasn't got greys in it, you could do it with like the green. Green would look quite nice, a really pale green.
Okay.
What do we reckon, peeps? Look at that. It's live experimenting, see? Live experimenting. Moregeous HQ.
And if I keep talking, Si'll get it all done for me.
Well, darling, that is really what happens with the painting anyway, isn't it? Let's face it. Because you're not really a big fan of painting, are you? I don't know if any of you saw Your Home Made Perfect this week, but Mr. Moregeous disappeared anytime any of that Jeremy and Paula's garden room needed painting. We were outside sanding all those scaffolding.
I did have other jobs to do, yeah.
We were outside I'm putting together a really good little video. From North Ireland of all the things that of all the builds, so right from the start, so the things that you don't see on the telly. So I started doing it before, but I just ran out of time.
You've had a J.A. Broom sent a request to me in your video.
I think it might be an accident. Generally, when people do that, it's a bit of an accident.
At least you keep still.
Look at that one, it's dry. Look at that one.
Keep still. The cameraman's all over the place here.
Let me see that. I don't know whether you guys can tell that from here, but it's it might even need. Do you know what? It might even need another coat. And that's the thing with staining and dyeing. When you test it, it will tell you what it wants. So as that dries, it may need another coat just to take it back a little bit more.
It's always better.
But also I think, oh my goodness, look at that. She's I've only just taken that cushion off there. That's a typical cat, isn't it? That's a typical cat. It may be that when we look at it, we actually think, oh, maybe go a little bit darker. So sometimes you can't tell. And the other thing is, Mr. M's repaired this one because that one got really wet. So putting a bit of the grey stain will hide that filler as well. Should have used grey filler, really. Oh, didn't have any grey filler. That's okay.
Shop was closed. The grey filler shop was closed.
There you go. So that's what we've done. So
dried better.
I like it. So really, I think today's live, you can stay with me and watch the rest of this being done, or I tell you what I might do is do this and then come back around 2 o'clock and see what it looks like, put some yacht varnish on so you can see. But I think that what I just wanted to show you was that treasure doesn't necessarily have to be something that's expensive. It can be a leftover material from your build, which you do something creative with like building something, but also you've got to think about protecting it, and also then you've got to think about the materials that you then protect it with, what they look like and whether they marry well with the design of your house and your exterior design, garden design, and colours and protective varnishes, and also what effect those protective varnishes will have on the material. Does it make it go too yellow, too orange? Does that make it look a bit crap? Because scaffolding planks are supposed to look all rustic, so then what do you need to do to them in order to counter that? So there's quite a lot of things to think about, aren't there? But there's always a way to deal with something cost effectively. Like, this is cheap as chips, isn't it? Didn't need to buy any dye, just mixed up a bit of paint with some water. So there's generally a way you can do it DIY, quite fast, quite easy and quite cheap. Stained. We were talking about using a wash on wood this morning, so I don't want to use a yacht varnish on this because it's too yellowy. So I've stained it back using paint and water wash, and now I'm just going to sand back a little bit on just to kind of distress the top a little bit before I yacht varnish it. It looks a bit better, I think, with a little bit of the wood showing through as well. Yacht varnish on, and I am really happy with that. So you can see that one sort of looks just a bit orangey for me. And what I've done is put the grey wash on and then sanded it back a little bit. And you can see the difference. Can you see the difference there? So I just much prefer that bottom bit. Happy days. That's a bit of an experiment, wasn't it, live? Thank God it worked.